Hi, welcome to Lightweavings podcast. Dawn Janice and Wendy Lee Baldwin-Hargett here back again to talk about what has dimmed your light and are you ready to do something about it? We talk about subjects that may be uncomfortable for a lot of people, but this is where the magic happens. And today we've got a fun subject that, once again, 5 minutes before we started recording, we were just talking about our week and what has happened. And Wendy and I both decided that it feels really good to take control of your life. Right, Wendy?
Yes.
It feels really good. But whether that's taking control of your schedule, taking control of your decisions and not being wishy-washy, or taking control of our emotional health. Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us about what's been going on with you? Because I love what you work on in your world and in your soul. So beautiful, that soul of yours.
Oh, thank you. It's been a really interesting week on many levels. It has been a continuation of the releasing around the full moon is what I'm going to chalk it up to. Yeah. It's there's the full moon releasing, there's Mercury retrograde. It's all good. Taking control of your life is something that we all need to do because whether we realize it or not, somewhere along the line, starting in childhood, we gave our power and our control away to somebody else. And we get to spend our adult life getting that power back. A lot of times we don't even realize that we're still giving our control away to other people. And for me, a big piece of this control was letting my adult self be in control as opposed to my wounded inner child. Yeah, it was big. I will share this with you, whoever listens. It was very, very deep and it's emotional. On Friday, I was at the dentist, and first I was on time, and they took me back a little bit late, so I was a little bit annoyed. And then I was told, "Well, you're gonna have to wait for the dentist," which I was a little bit annoyed. And it's like, because I'm sitting there, blah, 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 they're wasting my time. I should bill them, getting that ego going. And then it's like, no, just calm down. It's like, what's going on here? Why am I getting triggered? And while I was waiting for the dentist, while I'm sitting in the room by myself, fortunately, staring out the window, beautiful trees where we live here, lots of green trees. When I was asking what was going on, I started to actually almost tear up because my inner self said, I want to just go home. And I'm not talking about going to my house. I'm talking about going back to wherever it was I came from, outside of this earthly plane. And I was sitting there and I almost started crying. I said, this is not an appropriate time to cry. I can't be in tears when the dentist does come in. So I said, let's table this until we get to, more appropriate space. So I got home, no cavities. I got home and said, okay, let's look at this on a deeper level. And I just was in this really deep funk. And I said, this is a pattern. That watcher that we talk about so often, my watcher said, this is a pattern. We need to look at this. It's been a lifelong pattern. And I asked myself, okay, what is it that I'm really feeling? What is going on? And sometimes I get kind of muddled up and I do some muscle testing to find out. So I always ask, where does this start? Because it's really important to start at the beginning of a trauma. And what came up was my first year of life. And my first year of life, I decided life was just too hard. By that time, in my first year of life, I'd already had a lot of emotional challenges, and I just didn't want to be here as a human anymore. And I was able to bring healing to that inner child. And I will share with you the way I did that. Is there's a couple ways that I did this, couple steps to this. One, I gave my inner child compassion. I just gave that child the love and the compassion that I needed to feel safe and secure in this human experience. And another part of that was I have experienced this really powerful, special connection, I guess you could say, to what I call Mother God. And it's perhaps extra special to me because I grew up with a lot of mother issues.
Mhm.
I was given up for adoption when I was a baby. My adopted mother left the scene when I was a year and a half old. I didn't have a mother again until I was about 7. And then my stepmother came along, and that's, a long history, not a good history. And so I've made this connection with what I call Mother God. And whenever I get to a point that I feel that I just can't unjam the stuck emotions, I call on Mother God for help. Help me to feel, safe or loved or whatever. And when I brought this in, and whenever I bring this in, there's always immediate relief and such this incredible warmth that I felt this connection of this mother love to my inner child, my inner baby that just needed to feel loved by a mother. And it was really powerful. And what I experienced on the physical level is my body just shifted into this incredible state of peace and joy and excitement for being alive. And so I've taken moments since then actually just to sit in that peace, in that love, and just in that celebration, because life is such a gift. It's not a secret. I write about this in my book and I've talked about it. And I think it'd be a really good topic of discussion one of these days when the time is right about feeling suicidal and wanting to die and all that kind of stuff. And so I have been working diligently on myself to heal that duality that I struggled with. And I feel like I finally got to the beginning of it. And it's just been amazing.
What a breakthrough.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now myself as the adult, I am in control. You know, my baby self is no longer in a pain state and no longer controlling me, how I view life. And I'm pretty confident the next time I go to the dentist, I won't be crying or wanting to cry.
That's great to have that inner confidence over something that has been so traumatic for you your entire life.
Yeah.
To get to this point, to do that type of work that you did, that you are knowledgeable, you know how to do it, and because you've been trained in that area as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
Um, so that's a practice. Those of you out there listening and watching, it's something that you get to learn about when you're ready,
Mhm.
uh, or be coached through, or both. And Wendy is available. Her contact information will be available below this video or audio for you as well if you'd like to do some of that work with Wendy. That's amazing. Talk about a big thing to take control of in your life.
Mhm. Yes, wanting to live. I mean,
It
it doesn't get any better than that, I don't
only
think.
it has been in control of you until recently.
Yes, until
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. Wow. So one of the things that I talk about a lot, and I call myself a self-actualization coach now because of the self continuum, which is an idea, a divine download that I've received, and I am actually writing a book about it right now. So those are some kind of like out there words, actualization and continuum. So let me just explain that a bit more. Um, Self-actualization is really just learning about your true authentic self and yourself as a soul is what it really is understanding the you that was born um innocent and all-knowing when you came to this body before it was changed by our society, our family members, our traumas that we go through as a human being.
Mhm.
So doing our best to return to that most authentic self that we are is is what I help people reach.
Yes.
And that self-continuum that I'm talking about is really starting with the center of this line that on one end is fear, and the other end is unconditional love, which are two extremes, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Religion calls them different things, the devil and God, for example, right? That's just one example. And that's being very, minimalistic about it. I realize that. But right there in the center of that continuum, I saw being centered in self. And that is the beginning of everything that's good. On the other side is everything that's destructive, right? And it's the far end of it is unconditional love. As a being on this earth, what I've learned through the loss of my son and just life in general is all we really have control of is ourself.
That's right.
Others, we cannot control what they do or say or anything. We can't control anything because we are made as individuals and we have free will and we get to decide.
Mm-hmm.
We get to decide whatever we do with our life, whether we think we are or not, whether we think something else is controlling us or someone else is, it's still our decision.
That's
And once
right.
we realize that we are actually in control of everything that has to do with our self with a capital S, that's where the magic starts. That's where we gain that confidence that you have, that quiet confidence of knowing. And that's where we start to blossom. That's when we start to utilize all those words that begin with self on that continuum that goes all the way to unconditional love. Now I know that's out there and I'm writing a book about it. So stay tuned. There'll be more.
Well, I'm excited for your book to come out, and what you offer people, your coaching clients, is just beautiful, because you're spot on. You help people to get back to that love, because that's what we're all here for, is to get back to that love, to remember who we really are, which is love. That's what we all are, beings of love. We've just been tainted with all this stuff on the other side of the line, as you said. And yeah, it's wonderful. I'm sure that you will agree that the best way to do that, to get to that love, that self-actualization, is by unloading your emotional baggage, which is a process, which takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage for people to show up and say, "Hey, Dawn, I want to get back to my authentic self and get back to self-love. Help me." It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of people to come up and say, "Hey, Wendy, I'm ready to let go of this pain and suffering. Help me." It takes courage, and we get to control that courage. We can let fear control us, that end of that spectrum, or we can let that potential, that promise of more of love to control us. But whatever we choose, we get to decide.
We get to decide.
We do. We do.
We decide everything.
We get to decide when we get up in the morning. We get to decide what we eat, what we wear, who we are friends with, who we're married to. We're led to believe that we really don't have control over that society controls us. But when it gets down to the nuts and bolts of it, guess what? You actually have that control. You've just given your power away and you don't realize it.
It's an illusion. This is
Yeah.
the truth. When we
Yes.
think we are not in control of ourselves, or that somebody is controlling us, or that even our higher power is controlling us, that's not the truth.
That's right. That's right. And what we can ask ourselves whenever we feel like, somebody is listening to this, like, "No, but you don't get it." It's like, ask yourself, whose voice are you hearing? Whose
Mhm.
voice says you have to do this? Whose voice says you have to do that? Who are you trying to please by doing this or by doing that? Are you pleasing yourself, or are you pleasing somebody else? You're trying to please your mother, you're trying to please your father.
Right. And why is that? What is the motive behind that?
Right. Those are great. That's a great question. What is the motivation? Yeah. What are you getting out of it? Because we humans, we only operate on benefits. What's in it for us? We don't realize that. And that can be a bitter pill to swallow. But putting it out there anyway, because I like to be real and raw. No candy coating anything, no pussyfooting around. We we operate by what benefits us,
And there is nothing wrong with that. That is another lie
right?
told as a society that it's not okay to be centered in ourselves.
Mm.
Guys, here's the truth. We have to be.
Yes. Yeah.
We have to be in order for anything good to happen in your life.
Hmm.
If we tell ourselves, oh, well, I don't, it's not okay to think of myself. That's just suffering and misery because it's the only thing we are in control of is ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
You're not in control of your own children. Really, you're not. They are individuals themselves. They get to have their own life. Just like I just wrote this down this morning. I always had thought that my children are an extension of me. That's not true.
Hmm.
I am not an extension of my mother,
Hmm.
although that's how she treated me.
Hmm.
Sorry if you're listening out there, but
Hmm.
it's kind of true because, and I understand why, because that's what I thought when I became a mother. My children are an extension of me. Even though that doesn't sound right, it is what I was thinking
Hmm.
somewhere deep down in me. I'm just being honest here. And maybe not all of you believe that to be true about yourself, but something to think about and examine. It's not the truth. Therefore, I am not I have no control over them or their lives or what their higher power and they decide to do together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. Well, how empowering is that? Way to take control over who you have control over. Because it's so irritating when we think we can control our children and they don't behave the way we want them to. And it's like there's that irritation for a reason because they're not supposed to be doing what we want them to be doing. They're supposed to be living their life just like we were supposed to be living our life. And you are right. Our children are not an extension of ourselves. We are a completely different identity. And that is something that in my years of training have learned is to acknowledge the difference between your identity and the identity of another person. And so, it's like you had this self-actualization that your identity is separate from your children. Because if your children were an extension of you, then they would be a part of your identity.
Yes. And identity is a whole nother subject.
Ah, it's a deep one, isn't it?
That's a big one. I had a download about identity the other day too, but we'll save that for another time. But yes, it used to be when I would be asked the question, how do you see the rest of your life? Like, where will you be 5 years from now or 20 years from now? And what's for your whole life, what do you want the most? And my answer was always about my children's lives.
Mm.
It's always been about my children's lives. It still comes to me when I answer that question or when I journal about it.
Mm.
It still comes to me, not just about me, but it comes to me about what my living son, about his life. And that's his business.
Right.
Who do I think I am? His mother?
His
Yes, I am his
controller?
mother, but I'm not. He's not me. I'm not him. And that is like, I know it sounds so simple and so like, okay, Don, of course that's true. But really, do we really believe that's true?
Hmm.
It's a concept as a parent and especially as a mother, I think,
Yeah.
because we were at one time connected,
Right. Yeah.
really.
Right. Yeah. The child was a part of us.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's okay. Like looking 5 years down the road, it's okay to envision yourself having a loving, mature relationship with your son.
Yes. But it's not
Because
just about him. It's actually about me,
right.
centered
Right.
in myself,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
key because, I like being around people that are centered in themselves and they're not nosy about what I'm doing or completely affected by me.
Mm-hmm.
They're a calm, centered individual.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about people like that, that is those are the types of people that I want to be around.
Mm-hmm.
The energy is calm.
Yeah. In control.
and in control, which is not a bad thing. The
That's
word
right.
control has gotten a bad rap, I think.
You're right. It has gotten a really bad rap.
Yeah,
We're here to unwrap, give it a good rap.
we are. We are. So, in my program, The Journey to Joy, there are 5 pillars. And I think I've talked about this before, but the first is just, just getting aware. It's clarification. And then the second is, I call it organize, which sounds like not fun, but it's really fun because it's taking control. It's all about control, Wendy,
Yes, it is.
of our life, nobody else's, about what we have and where we're going with the amount of time that we have left in this body on this earth.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Right.
Yeah. And I could stay in that pillar in my life. I could stay in organize and not move past it because it's safe in there. I'm in control there, right? It's safe and organized.
Well, you get to be safe, organized, and in control as you move on to the next pillar because you're
Yeah,
taking with you what you learned.
that's the whole idea. And then the next pillar is create, and that's where things
Mm,
actually happen.
yeah.
Because getting organized is control, but now we have to create. Now we actually have to execute and get some things done. So, yeah, it's interesting, that term control and what it means to us.
Yeah.
It feels good to be in control, doesn't it?
It does. It absolutely does. And that's something that we all need to strive for. There's there's something coming to me that we get to be in control of our life. And I'm just going to go a little bit step further here. There's also the letting go, not being overly controlling in outcomes that we want. And
Releasing the outcome.
yes, releasing outcomes and also finding that space where you let go of control and let a greater source guide you. So being in control of yourself, not trying to control other people, but also allowing guidance.
So that takes faith, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It takes faith. It takes a lot of courage because it
It-
can be really scary because there's that the good part of control that we're talking about, and then there's the other side of control that we want to control everything. And
Mhm.
that's like we're talking about that, and that's what trips us up when we want to be in control of everything. So
Yeah, because it's the others that we can't control, and that, God, that which is greater is, that's not our business. Neither of
mhm,
those are our business.
mhm,
But to trust that they know what they're doing,
mhm,
that they have the best possible outcome in mind with what they're doing.
mhm,
And I'm talking about other people
mhm.
and God.
Yes,
Sometimes greater is the universe,
yes,
whatever that higher power is to those of us out there.
yes.
Um, Sometimes I consider my higher power, my higher self,
Mhm.
my spirit, my soul being,
Yes.
which is connected to all that is out there.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah. So that does take faith. And what I've found recently, by really starting to trust and having faith in that higher power, is releasing what I can't control,
Mhm.
releasing what is not in my power to control, and trusting. I found that, wow, instantly I get shown that that was a good decision.
Mhm.
A good decision to trust me, Dawn, from that which is greater. That was a good decision. So here's your proof that you made a good decision and good things happen.
Love it.
And it must be like God must know that I need to be shown that right away. So I can feel my faith. Here you go. She needs something obvious.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
obviously been an issue with me, or I wouldn't be so interested in the topic.
Uh,
Um, because and I've always been one that loves to organize. It loves to like clean a closet or a drawer because it is something that I can control. And I
mhm,
feel like it's something that my body and my being, my ego craves, because I've felt for so long in my life that I wasn't in control of my life, that there were other
Mhm.
people that were doing that. And I allowed that.
Mhm.
And that's not a good feeling. It's a feeling of almost desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and when you feel like somebody else is in control with your life, in addition to feeling desperate, you can have a lot of resentment, a lot of anger. It just doesn't create anything good. I can it puts you in the victim mode, feeling sorry for yourself. I mean, who hasn't thrown a pity party? I've thrown plenty of pity parties in my lifetime.
Ew,
Uh,
for
bring, yeah, bring the popcorn and the soda, or pity party coming up.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
party of one.
yeah, exactly.
Party of one.
And then we get tired of it.
Yeah, and resentment. You just brought up that word. That's part of it. The negative part of feeling like a victim. That I found out recently is not related to anger. It's related to jealousy. So resentful of somebody that has control. It's because I want it.
Mhm,
I want the control,
mhm,
or I want the whatever.
mhm.
I want the money. I want the, nice house, whatever it is. So being resentful is about jealousy. And I always thought it was, well, it's because of something that somebody has done to me that has hurt me and I'm upset about it. No, it's about my own issue with jealousy.
That's a great perspective.
That came from Brene Brown.
Wow. Very
Yeah,
powerful. Wow.
yeah, she is she's quite the teacher. That lady is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's been a powerful influence in my life in the last several years. Um, it's all about words, really. Those words mean so much, and that's one thing that we can control is what comes out of our mouth, what words
Mhm.
we use, and how we put them together, and how we present our words. So, yeah, control is a good thing, and when we look at it that way, isn't it?
It definitely is. And what you're just saying about words, it reminds me of did you ever have this childhood saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? That is like the biggest crock of baloney because words hurt.
They do. Yes, they do. And we have control over our
Yeah.
own words.
Yeah. Yeah. We can use our words to hurt or to heal and to love. And
Yeah.
yeah, we have so much more control over our life than what we realize.
Also, we have control over how other people's words affect us.
Mm, brilliant. Yes. Yes. Thank you for saying that. That was,
We get
yes.
to decide. We get to decide what that means to us,
Hmm.
whether that's going to, let's use a word that's overused, which is triggered,
Hmm.
whether that triggers us or not. We get to decide that. Or if we can maybe look at it this way, and it's sometimes hard to do, usually hard to do, and that is, what good intention do those harsh words actually have for me? What does there's some good intention that comes along with the ugliness. There's always a good intention in there somehow. So what would that be? And to dig for that, I think is a good exercise. Sometimes it takes digging.
There's so much kind of digging we can do. And I actually love the word trigger. I think that we need to use the word trigger more often.
Hey,
Uh, so yeah, and when we do get triggered by other people's words, yeah, that's great. You can look at what you just said, look at what was their intention for that. We can also look at what is being triggered inside of us, because if there's not a wound inside of us, we're not going to be triggered. The words are not going to hurt us. People could say the nastiest thing to us, and if we don't have any open wounds, it's not going to hurt us. We'll just be like a duck and let it roll off, and we can send them love and light.
yes. So then that is a window of opportunity for us when we are triggered
For sure.
to close that
Yeah.
or to work on healing in closing that wound.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you say, say, what was that person's intention?
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Tons of opportunities in that.
Hmm.
So, now let's talk a little bit about controlling some very basic things in our life, which is our schedule,
Hmm.
um, what our days look like. We get to decide that, who we get to engage with during that day. Those are all big decisions. They seem basic because we do them every day, don't we?
Yes, we do. Hmm.
But they're so important. Decisions are important. I spoke with a decision coach this week, which was just fascinating to me because it just seems like, what? A decision coach? What does that mean? Amy Day, if you're listening, shout out to you. Um, but it was fascinating listening to her, and there's a whole program about making decisions. So I am one of those people that, okay, I have my sister-in-law. I adore her, Lynette. I know you're listening. Um, she takes a long time to make a decision about things like a piece of furniture in her home or what meal to order, or she was just here visiting, so I really noticed it again, and I adore her for that because her decisions are solid when she makes them. She's one of those people, but she takes time to do that. My brother Mark is that way too. Hey, Mark. Um, he always takes a long time to make a decision, but once again, they're very solid when he does make that decision. I, on the other hand, am on the other end of the spectrum where I'm a jump in with both feet when something comes my way. That's just a strength and a weakness for me. I jump in all the way. I think there's probably a happy medium, and maybe I need some coaching around decision making. Um, but we can always get better at whatever we do. We can always get better at everything that we do, including making decisions. And so, that's a process of really taking a look at things, maybe looking into other people's viewpoints on it, just gathering a little bit of information before making a big decision or any decision. Just gather
Yeah.
a little information. Not a
Yeah.
bad thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I resonate more with your decision making. Jumping in with 2 feet, throw caution to the wind.
Yes.
Something that I have learned though is for myself is to start making decisions from a more emotionally neutral place.
Mm,
Because what I've discovered is whenever I make a decision from an emotionally high place, they quite often go sideways. They don't go as I had envisioned or planned. When I make decisions more from a emotionally neutral place, I can look at the different angles, check in with myself, and ask myself, how does this really feel? And make a decision from there. Whether it's, hey, mom, can you watch the girls for a little while I do this? Check in with myself. Do I feel like doing that? Because normally I'm like, yes, I'm right there. And it's like, well, wait a second. What else is on my calendar? How am I feeling? What's my energy level? And go from there. And it's just really helped me to make uh, better decisions, I guess you could say, because I look back at some of the decisions I made when I was emotionally high. I'm like, oh, crap.
yes.
It cost
Me.
me a lot of money. It cost me a lot of emotions, cost me a lot of heartache. But
And sometimes we make big commitments when
yes,
we're emotionally high
yeah,
and big commitments that
yeah,
um, then later on we have to make another decision. And
right.
it's okay to make another decision.
It is for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's well informed and you feel solid in it, and then move forward with confidence that it was the right decision.
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
that's really the key.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the big scope of life, there really aren't bad decisions. There's just different experiences.
Right. And like you mentioned earlier, really releasing the outcome of a decision.
Hmm.
Like, I'm making this decision because this is what is going to be the end result. Well, maybe not, because guess what? There's two other bubbles of control involved, other people
Right.
and that which is greater. So it's
Right.
not always as I planned. I don't have control over everything, just myself.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, back to the control thing again. So releasing the outcome of a decision and just knowing that you're in the flow, if you feel good about it, things, and and you do it from a place of love instead of a place of fear.
Mhm.
That I really feel like is where good decisions are made as well. Like you said,
Yeah.
almost looking at it as a business decision and looking at all the aspects of it and taking the emotion out.
Mhm.
But at the same time, also doing it from on the self continuum on the right hand side
Mhm.
where love resides instead of on the left hand side where fear resides. And I've made decisions out of fear before, snap decisions out of fear, also made snap decisions out of an emotional high for the moment without taking enough time to really discern it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's two sides of that.
Yeah. It's all just a work in progress, practice, practice, practice.
That's right. That's what we're here to do. We're only here to
That's
practice.
right.
Life is a video game. We don't ever, we just get to level up.
Oh, I love that. Uh,
Yeah, but it's fun to level up and keep going
mhm.
because fun people are on that level, like you, Wendy. You're on that
Yes.
level with me right now. It's so fun.
Yeah. I agree. I absolutely agree.
Good stuff. All right. Well, do you have any like kind of wrapping it all up? Any great words of wisdom over this subject of control and decision and all the above?
Oh, just
Mm.
remember, take ownership of your
Mm.
life and know that you do have more control than you ever imagined. We are all subconsciously fighting and wanting that control. It's right there for us to take. It just takes courage. It might take some rearranging of life, and that's really scary, but it's worth it. It's worth it to empower yourself and to, as you say, live life actualized. I love that. So I
Mm.
just want to invite people, whatever it takes, get that control back.
Yeah, it's fun to organize and get in control. And
Mhm.
it's really, I feel like organization is in the control phase. Um, it's fun. It's fun to realize that we do have some control over our lives. At first, it might be scary, but that's where the fun always is, where it's a little bit scary,
That's
isn't it?
right. Yeah, the roller coaster, that thrill before the roller coaster takes that big dip. Yeah.
Yeah, I choose not to go on a roller coaster, but I'm sure.
I love them.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, good friends of mine. To me, it's like, okay, been there, done that. No, also jumping out of an airplane, I choose not to do that too. That's my control. So,
There you go.
well, I think it is. I mean, maybe someday I'll have to. Who knows? It may not be under my control. But okay, that's something to think about. Not right now, though. Yeah, so it's where the fun is.
Yeah.
So, I love ending on that positive note of it being fun to take control,
Yeah.
and make good decisions and do it out of love, period.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy, for being here with me every week and doing this podcast. I think it's fun. It's something we get to control, you and I.
Yes, we do. I love being here every week. Thank you for another wonderful topic. This has been a lot of fun. I hope those listening found some nuggets and some fun here. So yeah, we're going to do it again next week.
Sounds good. And remember, where the magic happens is where it's a little bit uncomfortable. So go ahead and get uncomfortable. It's where it's fun and exciting. Then take some control and make sure that you tune in every week and take a listen to us or watch us on YouTube. We're here. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.